looks like we're going to get started based on who we have here. All of these meetings will be recorded and we will upload them to the TV page on the main website, arnagovernment.org. If there is ever a problem with the audio or video as we go on, somebody let me know, and then we will move forward. We started last week with our people as they come. We started last week with our official rites of passage, and it was the first week basic training. And the instructions that were sent out will be sent out through this medium of communication that we're using with the new national list that we have. We did a very basic training, recorded that particular information, and we'll continue to do that on a monthly basis throughout our time in doing the rites of passage. The purpose of the basic training was to make sure that our temples are in good physical condition. If you come in, please mute yourself. All right, let me make sure. All right. We got people coming in a little late. All right, again, the purpose of the basic training is to make sure that all of us are in top physical condition. For us to understand why that is important, we have to read this document right here that goes into those particular things. All of us are to be healthy physically, as healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually as we are able to be. And in order to do that, we have to have testing of that so we can keep account to make sure that people are not overweight, underweight, experiencing any health problems, that the ARMA doctors can assist them at right. They all come in at different times, so I'm just admitting people as they come. All right, so they were all in good holistic health. And so if you did not get a chance to do that, you still have to do that. And what we will do is we will send the requirements through the new mailing list. We will send the means by which you have to report it back to headquarters as well, okay? So that was a pretty simple thing that we did. It wasn't very difficult, maybe physically difficult for some people, but let's see. Not everybody has been taking good care of their health. So we want to make sure that you're doing that. And whether you're doing it and you are part of a local jurisdiction or not, you're still required to do that. You are not required to videotape yourself. You're required to record down those particular things that were given as far as the basic training assessment. All right, let some more folk in. All right. And we'll be able to ask questions at the end of this. I'm just muting everybody's mic just for now. Okay, so you will get an email tonight that requires by the following weekend that you complete that particular task, all right? I'm gonna stop admitting people in a minute because we should have been in here for a while. All right. All right. So that information will be emailed to you and you can update that information. If you don't have the full rites of passage schedule for the next 7 weeks, we'll get that to you as well so that you'll know if you can't make it to a particular presentation, then you can review the saved video, which will be a passcode enabled video that you can view at the main website, www.arnagovernment.org. For those of you who may be a little confused about the communication techniques, in the past, we had left it up to each law firm to record and provide us with the new nationals that were coming in. And of course, because we had one group that decided that they didn't like the way that things were going, and instead of taking the constitutional processes in mind, they just, decided to do something otherwise. And so with that, we did lose some communication with some people, but we recovered all of the nationals who went through that body, that law firm. And if there are others that are not aware, it's because your particular jurist did not report you to us, and we don't have that particular information. Every jurist is given the same guidance, and that guidance is pretty simple. That guidance says, whenever you nationalize someone, your first communication to them is that they must go to the main headquarters website and do their registration. Well, that has not been happening. So that creates a breach in communication. And what we like to do is we like to disseminate the authority to multiple figures so we can have a balance of responsibility and balance of powers. But if there are some people who are immature, that creates a problem for us. So we have to re-centralize things. And that's what we're doing right now. We are re-centralizing the communication networks just so that no one misses communication. There's no jurist that is miscommunicating with anyone, and that everyone has the same information, access to the same information, and is moving in the same accord when it comes to rites of passage, nationalization documents, because these processes are all the same for all jurists in all regions. Okay. So, all right. Let some more folk in. All right. So tonight we are going to talk about the processes of marriage, courtship, and child rearing and childbirth, things that you would need to know in order to be productive and effective in ARNA. All right, I think we got everybody in so far. All right, and then we'll have a Q&A afterwards, and then we'll close out. So the first thing is, if you look at the ARNA website, there are documents there, and we have a marriage department. We had a former couple that was running that. We changed things up a little bit so that we could have some effectiveness. And I can share this internally with the group because we are no longer online with those particular things. That group, who are my family, and I love them, had one person inside of the group that gave ill-advised advice to a person, all right? And that ill-advised advice went against our Constitution, our moral code, and our contracts when we deal with marriage. When we are teaching you guys these things, what we are doing is just simply implementing natural law. We don't want to overstep our bounds in our position as elected officials. And this is why with some of the coming things, there will be national votes, a referendum and national votes on things, so people don't feel like the Ministerial Congress, which only has 2 members right now, the full Jural Society, which is filled, or the executive is overstepping their bounds when it comes to people's right, okay? But we will enforce our natural law. And so I guess I'll start this off with the concepts of courtship, family maintenance, consorts, wives, all right, husbands, to make it simple. When 2 parties want to court in ARNA, they make that intention known to each other, right? And then in that process, they can form their own document to record that courtship happening, or they can download our document. All right, we have a courtship document on the main website. And the purpose of the document is to record the start of a courtship. Courtship starts when two people agree to court. And then we have advisory interrogation, things that you want to ask, not necessarily all at once, but at some particular point, in order to ground yourself in what you are about to engage. What you're about to engage is a potential marriage. All right. And in doing so, you want to make sure that you're making a good decision. Okay. You also want to seek help from the community and family action. Sorry about that, guys. You want to make sure that you're consulting that ministry so that you can get at least 2 of the scheduled counseling sessions before the marriage is signed and completed while you're in courtship. So, all right, got some folk coming in late. So that you are making a healthy decision. All right. And when it comes to relationships, marriages, they are only as good as the people who are involved. Okay. They're only as good as the people involved. And some of us are used to behaviors that are adverse to the most important part of any governing society, and that is the family. There is no unit that is more important than this unit, and the society will go as families go. If we look at the United States of America, it is a result, the craziness that is going on is a result of baby mamas, baby daddies, single women, single men, no concepts of natural law, and philosophy. Let's call it that, philosophy. And these philosophies will pan out when it comes to human behavior in very adverse situations. So we have a very simple concept. The law is our guide and the love is the core. All right. Love and the law are married. Can't have one without the other. And if you try to have one without the other, what you're going to have is you're going to start to have confusion, okay, which we see throughout the world. What we're doing is very simple. So the courtship form, matter of fact, I'm going to pull that up as I talk and share these particular things, but we have to stress the importance of family. In classical indigenous civilizations that had high success, there was no such thing as a single person. Even if a woman was single at a certain age and time, she would contract to a family to be maintained. That did not require her to have sex with the husband or any levels of intimacy with anybody. It was to protect. It was to block fornication. All right. And what fornication is uncontractual sex, meaning you have no contracts, no intent, no purpose with the person. And you're engaging the sexual act, and it can become irresponsible because we know what can come from sex. Children can come from sex. Emotions and feelings and bonding comes from sex. And so in that sense, loose behavior in that sense can create or distort, the success of the families. All right. And when we are looking at what we want to build, what we are building, what we will continue to build, in order for it to be successful, we can't have people around for years and years and years being single, because humans are going to want affection and they're going to want to have sex. Okay. And the idea behind honor is that honor nationals marry honor nationals, or even if they marry nationals or people who are outside of honor, they have a contract in honor to deal with the particular situation. Because if you don't, that could become a problem, because now if you have to go to the foreign venues, courts, to solve a dispute of marriage, of children, then other types of uh, predatory institutions or practices are going to injure you. Child support, alimony. These are all things designed by fictions in order to take energy and resources from people. We don't have that in ARNA. We do have the ability to divorce. We do have the ability to have a jural society to deal with the contractual nature of inheritance or where assets go. We have all of that, but we don't have a court that has an economic incentive, or lawyers or jurists who have an economic incentive inside of that process. So this is a whole new way and world of looking at how to protect nationals and how to protect their families in their engagement. So we're saying that to say your past behaviors have to change. All of our past behaviors have to change. Your past behaviors have to be in line with what will protect you, secure you, and not create injury to you, others, and to, defeat the success of families. Okay. All right. Make sure this recording is still going. Okay, great. So we start out with the basic concept of courtship. And like I said, you can introduce your own form, but from now on, headquarters has to have a record of any courtships, any marriages that exist, any family maintenances that exist. And we'll explain what that is as we go. So I'm going to open up a courtship form, and you can download this off of the protocols link on the website. Let's see if I can share this. Hopefully I can. All right, y'all see that? All right, great. Make sure that hopefully everybody can see what I'm showing. If you can't see it for any reason, just say something, wave your hand. Let me know. All right. Courtship and family maintenance form. You must be a registered national, have this form. I'll make that edit right there. Submit physical form to ARNA headquarters at this address right here. This is a document that has to be mailed in. Okay. And what is it for? Is it for courtship? A courtship is when two people come together, agree that they are going to investigate the possibility of entering into one of the other three aspects that are listed here. Okay. Family maintenance. In our Moorish history, we have something where a woman and a man will take in another woman so that she would not be a single woman. That woman could be working on her own vision, working in conjunction with the woman of the house, or she could have an intention at some point in the future to become a consort or a wife, both which represent marriage. All right. And so family maintenance means that that man is caretaking for that particular woman who is having some type of interaction with their family. And that is by the agreement of all of those parties. So let's say the woman wants to come in and she is in health and fitness, and the wife is in health and fitness, and they're going to work together on a plan. And the husband brings this woman in to protect her in that sense. There may be no agreement to have sex with that woman at all. She's just being cared for. So until she gets to a point or a point of protection where she decides to get married or enter another courtship or something of that nature. Or it could be a situation where it could be polygyny or something of that of that operation going on, and it's by contract. But we will have a notice of headquarters of that happening. Now, again, what is this for? A single woman in a society like we live or in ARNA is dangerous, because if she is going to be sexually active, if she's going to engage men, how is that going to happen? If she's going to engage men outside of ARNA, of course, she can have children, relationship with someone who is not in our jurisdiction. And then if she has a child or something, a dispute between the two occurs, We can't step in as ARNA and deal with a physical assault, because that person is now a U.S. citizen and we're in ARNA, and now that has to be handled in subject matter jurisdiction, which means that they have to handle that in their courts. And so now you've just been pulled over into another jurisdiction because you are interacting with someone who has a personal moral system and a legal jurisdiction or lawful jurisdiction that is not the same as yours. And so this can create severe conflicts of interest. So ultimately what you want is a situation where if you are single and you are working on your vision, working on your plans, you're not sexually active, you become a part of another family that can help you in that process of you acquiring, you know, your business and other things that you want to build up, or if you wanted to be a part of that family. That is the inner decisions are the private activity of y'all. But the overall notice is that we as a nation will know that that is happening, okay? So that's one aspect of it. A consort, it's an English word, all right? A consort is married to a husband too, but this is a woman who has no intention of having children, all right? She has no intention of having children because of her age. Maybe she's a widow. She just might have decided at that particular age not to have children. Then that is the status. And then a wife is a woman who does intend and can have children with a husband. All right, so all of those are details that you would have to notice. So if you're in the courtship, you're going to check courtship. If there's additional things you need to check, you can check those things and submit that to headquarters. Whether or not you completed the rites of passage has to be known by headquarters, because if not, then of course we need you to complete the rites of passage. And if you did complete it, the date of completion, because the 8-week rites of passage, it ends with an examination, right? Of course, you would put your name, the woman's name, all the contact, where she is, age, height, and weight. We want to know all of that information. And this form is given to headquarters. And it's a very simple form. It's something that allows for us to continue to teach the proper etiquette of family and protection of men, women, and children. That's what we are here to do. We're not here to do any other thing. And we're unconcerned about people outside of our jurisdiction. We are generally concerned with our people, with them learning their indigenous and then learning their rights, and then getting them in a better position morally, economically. But we cannot be jurisdictionally concerned with them when we have jurisdiction to have, you know, any type of intervention into their affairs jurisdictionally. We can't do that. Okay. All right. So I want to also show the full family contract. Let's take a look at that. Let me share this with y'all so that we can have a cursory review of the full marriage contract. This is just like a sample of it. All right. All right, here we go. So this is a sample marriage contract. It will list the husband, the wife, if there's additional wives, children, etc. The purpose of the preliminary contract is to have a certified oath before the completion of the ARNA marriage ceremony and marriage contract. So we have a ceremony that's at the discretion of the parties. If they want to have a large ceremony, small ceremony, no ceremony, that's at their discretion. There is a contract, marriage contract, that they have to fill out besides this contract. This is the part of the marriage contract. I guess I should call it a marriage certificate. Binding code of conduct. Quran as interpreted via translation of ARNA Ministry of Education and your family. ARNA Department of Psychology, Book of Ancestor System. That's where we're looking at the compatibility systems, where Dr. Powhatan could be doing some of your counseling sessions where he's showing the compatibility between y'all or whoever else is under that particular ministry. Personal family laws. Each family has an ability to develop their own family laws, which are things that are unique to them for their unique need that ARNA has no say over. Okay. And it's presented by the adults. And to amend this document, and I should say must be reviewed by the officers in charge of the Ministry of Community Action and Family. And that review is important because, you know, we don't want you to say, okay, well, in my family, we get to marry non-Indigenous people. So I'm bringing some white girls up in here because I want some extra white sister wives. Nah, homie, we can't have that. We're not here to do that. We're here to keep it Indigenous. You know what I mean? So that's the review base. So this has basic sections to it: security standards, economic standards, communication standards, home operational standards, arts and culture standards, health standards, personal relationship standards, and how to adjudicate. Let's say you set up a system where, I don't know, if the hygiene is not kept up in the house, y'all have personal fines in your house. Y'all have the ability to do that. If husband ain't keeping his area clean or his man cave clean, is getting out of order, he got to pay whatever fines that y'all all agree to, you know, in your home. Educational standards for adults and children, structural operations and management of the home, technical performance standards, and spiritual standards. So let's go through some of this. Security standards. All members of the family, 10 years and older, must remember their general orders. We have 12 general orders. They are part of your your protocol manual, and we're all supposed to memorize our general orders and our preamble. All right, all general orders must be abided by, and confusion about general orders is handled by relaxed family arbitration or direct family adjudication with adults and covenant keepers. That's another thing I didn't mention. When you do get married, each family gets 3 covenant keepers. The woman gets 3 and the man gets 3. They could be family members or ARNA nationals. And the purpose of the covenant keepers are to be the people who intervene when there is an issue with the family. Let's say we have an argument. Boom, we call our covenant keepers. We don't call Bonquisha. We don't call Tyrone. Tyrone gonna take you to the bar and get you some drinks and try to tell you need to get your, you need to get the stress up off you by hooking up with Shorty right here. No, we don't want to roll with Tyrone. And we don't want to roll with Bonquisha, who's not married, who's unconcerned about the moral etiquette of building family and structure. She's just out wilding out. We want to consult our covenant keepers. They could be your mother, your father, your uncle, your cousin, other ARNA nationals, whoever. Adult women and men in the family do not phone, communicate, conversate with other men and women not in their family except for business. This was something that came up with the former heads of this department. A sister, who I won't mention, went to the head of the department, and she was having a dispute with, the brother she's courting. And in that process, the woman told her, well, what I do is I go talk to other men. Well, we don't recommend that. We recommend covenant keepers, or she's coming to you to talk to you to give guidance about how she should handle a particular situation. Why would she go outside of her courtship and talk to men who are not her father, her uncle, her brother, her cousin, that type of scenario? Because once you invoke and enjoin that type of scenario, what's going to happen is you are now violating the moral code of ARNA, and you're setting the woman up for failure. I'm not going to go talk to a woman who could generate an interest in me about a woman who I'm courting or who I'm married to. That's not how you handle that particular situation. So we enjoin a much, safer methodology. All right. Women are allowed to talk to other married women. Men are allowed to talk to other married men, counseling. Women are not allowed to talk to other married or single men except in rare cases. Men are not allowed to talk to married or single women except in rare cases. Conversations with men or women for pleasure or loose talk is forbidden. Now, when you set your own family structure up, y'all family know y'all family, right? We cannot abrogate healthy engagement for your family. But what we do recommend is that you don't breach the contract and the moral code in an unsafe manner. Okay. That's, you know, that's something that we just recommend. Women and men do not hug or touch men or women other than family members, except at events where we are greeting and or in general respectful greeting of original people. For instance, I don't have a policy in my family where my daughters, my sons, or women, we don't touch white people. If they're close to us, maybe we give them a hug or some love or something. But generally speaking, we just out. You ever been in the grocery store and you have your black baby and then white people try to come over and do that little thing that they do, touch it? No, sir. No, ma'am. You cannot touch this child. That's not how we roll. I had that happen to me when my daughter, she's 16 now, but she was only about 7 months at the time. And this is the first time that she had been in a store. So she was looking at the white people kind of strange. And this white woman came up to try to touch her. And I politely and very, you know, calmly pushed her hand down. And I said, I don't allow people to touch my children who are not, you know. And she understood. She wasn't disrespect. It wasn't forceful. It wasn't angry. You know, I wasn't calling her names. It was just understanding that touch generates pheromonic response systems in the body. All right. And so you should, I should, children should not let anybody just running up on them and touching them and having exchanges of energy. All right. So that's something that you have to consider inside of your own family. But, you know, we share those with you so that you can be aware of why we have these things going on. So there's a lot more here. I'm not going to go through every particular point. When you go to the arnagovernment.org website and you look under Constitution and Protocols, the entire contract and the entire courtship document is there for you to download. It's been there. And so you can read on that, because the reason why you're going to have to read on it is because after week 8, you're going to have a test and there are going to be questions about this that you have to answer. It is an open book, open contract test, but you want to familiarize yourself with these particular things as your time goes. And just to give you an example, how other ways that we have. All adults are expected to have at least 3 ways to make money as entrepreneurs. Now, you might be working a job right now. It doesn't mean you can't get married. It just means that these are things that we are recommending for you so you can solidify the strength of your family. You don't want to have the only way you can make money is I work for the post office and the post office fires you and now your family cannot be taken care of. There's enough entrepreneurs around you and in our interactions where we can develop multiple streams of income or wage earning. And by that process, you know, you will have multiple ways of sustaining your family. All right. We talk about the different business bank accounts, trust accounts that you should have. Having these accounts, let's say you have a joint account with your wife, then y'all also both have 2 separate accounts. One of your accounts can be for business, one of it can be a trust. All of these things are discussed in here so that you protect and learn to move your assets and protect your assets. So we have economic standards in there that, you know, you will look over and agree to or modify slightly. All right. Communication standards. All right. We don't want poor communication happening. All right. We don't need to be arguing as adults. There's a way to handle disputes. And so you implement a code of conduct. As husband and wife, we must maintain direct honesty in all communications. There's no reason for y'all to be lying to each other. For what? What would be the purpose and the service of dishonesty when you are trying to build a intelligent system? Imagine atoms lying to each other, molecules lying to each other, proteins lying to each other, and they wouldn't be lying, but they will have confused or contorted communication systems between them. That's how cancer develops. That's how the body gets out of its equilibrium and its wholeness. There's no reason. We are all grown people. First of all, you have to have the courage to say what's on your mind and your heart at all times, right? And then in doing so, in expressing that honesty, express it in a way, tone, temperament that is healthy. Adults must never call each other names or face consequences listed for violating the home standards. All right, y'all got standards in your home. Somebody get out of line, they got to pay a fine. They got to do whatever. Y'all supposed to set that up locally in your own home to make sure that it's being implemented properly. And if you have a home contract and somebody violates and they act like they don't want to be held to it, you can be brought up on a Jural Society charge, and they could bring that contract into the Jural Society and say, look, we have a home contract. He doing this, this, and this, and we got the witness of it, blah, blah, blah. He don't want to follow his home contract. Oh, yes, yes, sir, brother. You signed that contract, you agree to it, you have to follow it. And if you don't, this is the consequence. Okay. All right. All right. So these are other things about not leaving your children unattended, schedule for duties, just a way to organize your home so it's very efficient. All right. We're not going to read all of it. Arts and culture. Making sure that the children are engaged in creative activity. Don't just have them on a PS4 or all these things that you give children. No, have each of our children must participate in weekly creative activity. Adults are not allowed to adopt cultural practices of foreigners. What is the cultural practice of foreigners? We're not Arabs, we're not Chinese, we're not Hindus, we're not Africans, we are original people in North America. And what that means is we have our own unique culture, we have our own unique honor culture, and y'all have your own unique family culture. Some of y'all from the South, some of y'all from the Midwest, some of y'all from areas where you have cultural norms. These are our cultures. Our culture is indigenous. Even if you practice something, you're in the Moorish Science Temple, you're in the Nation of Islam, you're in other affiliate bodies. These are all things that occurred here. And most of the time, those people who are overseas look at us like, y'all ain't real this. Y'all ain't, no, we're not. We are what we are, and we are not what you are. And that's fine. And we need to keep that mindset about all things. You know, our cultural practices are indigenous. All right. We are not coming in here saying, we walk up in your house and you got a white Jesus on your wall. Yes, we could take you to a Jural Society for practicing the culture of foreigners in obstruction of your own indigenous self, if you do something like that. So, you know, we can't micromanage people's spirituality and other things, but we can deal with obstructions. You know, there's things in other foreign cultures that are just, you know, your wife can't talk. She got to walk behind you 10 steps. We're not doing all of that. We don't engage in these practices that breach the humanity of our people. All right. So we need to look at these things and learn, you know, these things. Health standards. All right. We don't want you to come in here and think you're going to be eating pork and whatever else, spiders. You know, you got all kinds of things going on. People be all over the world eating all kinds of stuff. We advise about the healthiest things to eat, and then we have our honor basic training to make sure that you're eating healthy and you're doing the things, and we keep updating that information as we get it. So that's a part of your eating practices. All right. Personal relationship standards. All right. So some things that you have to do, and this is important. When you get to the point where you're about to do your marriage contract and your marriage, you have to, as a family, decide whether you're going to be monogamous or polygynous at that point, and you cannot change it later. I'm gonna say that one more again for the brothers. Because you might see another brother that has 2 wives and you got 1 wife, and now you want another wife because you know, I see what I look and see. No, that is something that must be a conscious agreement at the inception, so that if there are any disputes later, we can say, well, y'all agree to this. If it's not working out, then okay, we're going to get counseling. We can do all the other things that are necessary, but you can't pull a 52 fake out on a brother or a sister in honor. We don't do that. All right. Um, Abortion, aborting children in our marriage, except under extreme cases of extreme safety. This is why we teach uh, child conception, methods to avoid child conception, methods to choose the gender of the child, readings that can tell you when you're more prone to have a child. If you do an annual reading every year, you can get a reading and say, oh yeah, I have a higher chance of having a child this year, so you're aware. Okay. All right. So just other things here, child rearing, documents for children, educational standards, learning to read your child's birth charts. You don't have to be an expert, but it's good to learn those things so you can help your child in their movement forward into their purpose. Coordinating budgeting. This is just samples. These are things that you will have to do. You can't have a home and not have a budget. So we give you a sample of things that you might be paying or not paying, or, you know, being technologically sound, which we have, you know, people who are in positions, IT positions, who can help with trainings and these things, but that's an area that's important. All right, spiritual practices. Our spiritual practice and religion is our indigenous systems. Your husband must be a student of his spiritual tradition, seek his consultation on matters as he is able to assist. We do not participate in foreign, African, European, Arab, Jewish, or Asian religious ideologies, rituals, or practice, only our own indigenous practice. So let me get that straight. It doesn't mean if you practice in some type of Hebrewism that you can't practice that. But what we're saying is, you know, you are not a Jew in the sense of white Jews. You know what I mean? You're not an Arab in the sense of white Arabs. These systems all come from us anyway. So our job as institutions is to educate you on those things. And then your job, if you're not as aware, is to study those things so that you don't put yourself in a position where you're practicing foreign ideology to your detriment. That's the point. The Honor Department of Psychology has developed an advanced method of subconscious examination. You will be required to participate in sessions with your husband before our marriage ceremony. So you have to have two, at least two, which we will discuss in full. We will have prayer according to our indigenous systems. We teach those particular things. Adults and children must learn and do prayer and meditation. It's important. Like, we don't have a schedule saying, oh, you missed your prayer today, you're gonna get fined. No, you must know the prayer systems, learn them, learn what they are for, learn the times for visualization and balance and all of those things. We teach those things every year during Ramadan. All right. So it's really basic here. And then we have the signature. All right. So this is a very basic contract that you can download, become familiar with. It's a very good start. You can make amendments so that your family will know how to operate. All right. Have a healthy operation. It won't be confused about successful means for divvying out assets and how to protect assets and do all of those things. And these are things that you could pass on to your children so that y'all have a healthy family that understands these things and is teaching that to your legacy as they're growing up, as they're coming up. All right. We have to have strong families. We cannot have these loose practices that lead us into our own detriment. Look at your own life and the different relationships that you've been in and test them. Ask yourself a question. Had I known what I know now, how much better off would this situation have been? I was married for 12 years, okay? And I did get a divorce. It wasn't a state marriage, because even at that time, as members of the Nation of Islam, we didn't necessarily do that. But my point is, had I known some of the things that I knew now, that particular situation would have even been a better situation. but we live and we learn. And as we learn, we do better. All right. So I wouldn't engage a courtship without asking questions. And if somebody doesn't feel like that's their cup of tea, at least you put it out front first, where you didn't rush into a marriage and then you find yourself here with all these responsibilities, and then you find yourself with a person who might not be as responsible as you would like, or their health, they don't want to eat right, or all these other things. You need to do these investigations, or they might have a issue, a debilitating issue. They can't stop fornicating. So you might get a man and he just out here and he just been doing that his whole life, and he haven't broken that habit. So you wondering where he at 12 o'clock at night, and he's saying, oh, I'm working overtime, but it ain't adding up. So we need to understand that we come into the fold with all of our good and all of our challenges. And our challenges are something that the systems, the institutions, the friendships, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the rites of passage is designed to start to build up an environment so that we can be successful. All right. At times where we had systems and organizations where these things were a heightened focus, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, and Noble Drew Ali, and the UNI, and Marcus Garvey, whatever, we had apexing moments where we were doing very well in these things, and it showed. But we have, learned and standing on their shoulders now, all of them, and now we've instituted statehood and government as another layer of protection for ourselves, and now we are able to move forward and do these things that are good for us. I don't have a copy of the book Immaculate Conception with me, but inside of Immaculate Conception, we have the gender charting. And I'll make sure to screenshot that and send that out to the list so you can all keep that gender charting, because it shows you how to conceive a boy with 100% accuracy, how to conceive a girl, some of the things that you could teach the children. And as a matter of fact, if you don't have that book, I'll make sure to give you an e-copy. I just send an e-copy to everybody, so everybody has it, so they don't have an excuse. So they have the charts and the recommendations, so that you can use that book as a wife and consort, and a mother, a husband, to guide that particular future. It's nothing more beautiful than to plan the gender of a child, eat a nutrition that is catering to the child, have a safe pregnancy, have midwives and doulas to deliver the child, and then to raise that child knowing their charts into existence. I've done that several times, and I'm telling you, the children come out different. They're different. Their level of intelligence, their progress, their outlook is different, and so we all need to be thinking about having those experiences, because those are experiences that are going to increase our ownership, our wealth, our assets, our legacy. I think that was the summary of what we have. Now we are going to have assignments, but what I wanted, that's what I wanted to do. Let's see if I can pull that up, if I have that as in a file. All right. All right. I'm going to send you the through the email, because I know we send it through other means, the full Rites of Passage weekly schedule, so you can see what's coming and who's going to be teaching and all of that as soon as we end this and after we do our Q&A and end this.